Hey boss, let's be honest. Are your socials running you or the other way around? If you are tired of wasting hours trying to plan posts that no one sees, you need the social media sidekick. And it is now open until the 11th of December with over £1,000 worth of bonus goodies. Basically, this whole thing is your monthly toolkit. It's a monthly membership that gives you all of your socials done and dusted for you, including trends, updates, and all the good stuff, so you can finally show up online without burning out. So if you head to handmadebosses.com/SMS fix, that's SMS fix, you can join before the bonuses vanish on December the 11th. We would love to have you in there. Let's simplify your socials. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the How to Be a Handmade Boss podcast / video, depending on where you're going to watch this. I'm here with Gemma. Hi, Gemma.
Hi, Steph.
And today I want Gemma to do a deep dive into her business, answer some questions. It's going to be fun. It's going to be like a very chill chat. So why don't we kick off by you telling us a little bit about you, what you do, your business, and plug away.
So obviously I'm Gemma, as you've already said, or Gem, depending on what you prefer. My business is Wild and Gem because it's a little bit of me and it's a little bit of kind of the wild, nature inspired. And sometimes I use gemstones too. So that's where the name really comes from. And I make very much nature inspired jewelry, and it comes into different strands. So some of the jewelry is things that have been foraged or botanicals from nature. So they're things found in nature. Some of the jewelry is cast from nature. So it might be real shells, etc., that have then been cast into wearable charms that are made into necklaces, bracelets, earrings, etc. And then some of the pieces are inspired by nature. So inspired by Northern Lights scenes, for example. So things are either found in nature, inspired by nature, or cast from nature, but all very much kind of nature in the wild, outdoors type theme.
Love that. Love that. And if you haven't looked at her shop yet, you need to, because it's so, I mean, the Northern Lights thing, the sunflower thing, I mean, I'm just like, it's just so lush. And your pictures are amazing as well. Like, I would just like to say that because they are so good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't have any fancy equipment for that. It's literally just me and my iPhone. So I don't have a big fancy setup or investment. It's just trying to capture them authentically so that people can see the details and see what they're actually getting at the other end.
Yeah, and I think that's like a real lesson as well, because people see those and think, I need to have like a DSLR camera. I need to have like a little space in my house, and I think this is just a lesson that you can just, if you know your products and you know how the light hits them and you know where to position yourself on the camera, we're all good.
If you saw my terrible photography setup when I take photographs, you would laugh. I'm talking about, something perched on top of 3 stack high dictionaries in the middle of my living room. It's not fancy.
I love that. That's so cool. So what made you fall in love with what you sell? Like, kind of what made you fall, I say fall into, but what kind of made you discover that this was going to be your thing?
Okay. So I come from a really, really crafty background. So my mum was like, when I say crafting, she was just so good at it. And like, I feel like I can never quite kind of measure up to her. She was incredible at everything. Oh, wow. So I was really brought up with it. And I was brought up in the age where, shops weren't open on Sundays. Wouldn't that be nice if it was still a thing? And people went to these big country shows, and my mum would go and exhibit at these big country shows. And I was really brought up with it. And I think that gave me a real love and a passion for things that are handcrafted, and a real appreciation for the work that goes into it, because it was such a big part of my childhood. So I carried on, and I've always made and done lots and lots of things. And I had made jewelry for a long time, and I'd specialised in bridal jewelry for a while. And then I'd been doing quite a lot of project work. I'd been teaching for about 10 years. I'd also done quite a lot of project work when I came out of teaching. And it was actually during COVID, as I know is true for a lot of people, that I went back to kind of remembering how important the outdoors was for me, and how important getting outside, out of an office environment, getting some fresh air, back to the basics of appreciation of nature. And I was kind of like, right, let's now combine those things for me. So let's combine the skills that I've already had in jewelry making, and I've learnt lots of new ones along the way. But how can I now also bring in this absolute love of the outdoors I've got? That capturing kind of that moment in nature, the colours in nature. That's a very big thing for me, because when you see a lot of kind of nature-based things, often it's very green, or it's very, and I'm like, no, there's so many colours in nature. Let's capture that in the sunflower range. Let's capture all the colours of that. And that's kind of a big thing for me, really capturing the feel of the outside if I can.
I love that. I think that's, yeah, bang on, because like you say, people go for like earthy, they go for like green, they go for brown, they go for like ambers, oranges. But I love the fact that in every picture of yours, you're kind of like, how can I enhance the colors that's in the jewelry without detracting away? And I think that's like the key thing. A lot of people go, ooh, props, and they kind of like add a lot of stuff, and that's what I think I love about your stuff, is that every picture is themed, but it's still in keeping with your brand. And I think you've really gone all in with like the colors there, so that definitely comes across for sure.
I mean, have a look in the garden in summer. It's bright, it's full of flowers. And I'm not a big one to put lots of things on my pictures that aren't actually what I'm selling. And I've started doing in-person events, and I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to kind of keep the props to a minimum, because the focus is on the product ultimately.
Yeah, got you. So I love your stuff, and I'm going to ask you a question now. Where do you get your inspiration from? Because you have very specific collections, and if you don't know, if you go to Wild and Gem, like, what's your links? Just because people are going to want to know. So what's your links, and where can they find you?
Okay, so it's very basics at the moment. It's just Etsy, so Wild and Gem on Etsy, or on Instagram, it's at Wild and Gem. So just those two basic things right now.
That's good. Do you know what? I think that's one of the first times I've heard someone go, I'm keeping it chill. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that's as much as I can cope with right now. The growth time will come, but it's not that right now.
So going back to my question, how do you find inspiration for your collections?
Okay, so some of it, and this is something I've learned through Handmade Bosses, is if you've got something that sells really well, how else can you sort of I don't like to use the word monopolize, but ultimately that's what it is. How can you grow a collection based on that? So some of my pieces have come from one or two of my best sellers, and how can I grow out from that? And that is something, as I said, that I've learned through the academy. And then sometimes it is just sort of spending that time, maybe keeping a sketchbook for some ideas, because I'll come up with something while I'm out, and by the time I've got home, I'm busy, or I'm at that age where I've probably forgotten it. So keeping a little sketchbook is really handy. And I just take loads of photographs as well, and I'll look back and look at the colours of things and think, oh, look at the colours of that, it's beautiful. Or recently I saw the Northern Lights at home, which was amazing. And it's kind of capturing a bit of that magic. So it's really trying to capture that feeling. And I think it's good if you're somebody that can keep a little notebook, or just keep photos on your phone in a separate file of inspiration, and then to go back and have a look at that, and to keep some fresh inspiration in your mind.
That's really cool. Yeah. And I think the inspiration, I feel like that's what a lot of people struggle with. So would your advice be to just go out in nature, especially if you do nature inspired stuff, and actually go and like live among nature, and just kind of grab some inspo from that if people are struggling with that blank screen, knowing what to kind of do next?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely get kind of stuck in that space sometimes of what do I do next. But I also think it's good to go back and have a look at what it is that you are actually selling really well, and then really have a think around those things. What else could you make from that? I don't know, if you saw something that is rainbow themed, and you're currently making cushion covers with rainbows on, could you make pouches for books with rainbows on? Or could you, what else could you do around that theme, if that's something that's particularly important to people? And I've found that there are certain genres that people really like. So there are certain things that are very meaningful to people. In the flowers world, forget-me-nots are very meaningful to people. So if I'm making forget-me-not necklaces, could I introduce a bracelet, or could I introduce earrings? And how can I move out from that theme? And I think that's a good starting point if you're stuck. But another thing, like I said, is just to keep your own ideas log. So just keep snapping those pictures, writing things down. And then when you're really stuck, you can reference back and hopefully something will grab you.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so in terms of where kind of in your journey did you find me, Handmade Boss, is kind of like, talk a little bit more about your overall journey with it.
Okay, so it was close to the start of my jewellery journey. And I think I probably first came across you in 2022.
Oh, wow.
Quite a long time ago now. And then it was a bit of an odd one. It's probably not the way most people go about it, really. But I'd probably watched one or two of your videos. I think I'd probably seen you on social media. And I'd seen some other coaches on social media. And it was a bit kind of, some of the other coaches, it was a bit sort of like sensationalist. It was a bit like, do this one thing now. And I'm like, oh, I've had lots of drama over the last couple of years. I don't need any sensationalism. I don't need any drama. I just need kind of, let's do this, let's do that, calm type thing. And so actually the first time that I ever had any interaction with you was through you looking at my shop for me. And I know it's not necessarily something you do that much of now, but if you do ever have any of those slots, folks, grab them, because it was so useful. And because I've always been a crafter and I've always been somebody who loves handmade things, likes to handmake, I was making lots of different things. And I put kind of a couple of different things into my shop. And I remember what you said to me, and you still say this now sometimes, and I have a little chuckle to myself because it resonates. And you said, I say this with love, but... And I thought, do you know what? She's blooming right. She's blooming right. And what she's saying with absolute love, because she wants me to succeed and do well with this. But yeah, she's really right. And I've got to kind of take some of this stuff off. And everything that you said was absolutely on the mark about, what I had started to sell. My sales were absolutely minute at the time. But the things that I was selling, you'd 100% picked up on. And so I had that kind of can't think what you call it, like shop review, I suppose, online that you'd recorded for me.
Yeah.
And then it was a little, probably a few months after that I then joined the academy. That was in April 23.
Wow.
So a good sort of 2.5 years ago now.
That's really, really good. I'm glad that you kind of like took the I guess like advice, I guess you could call it, from the critique, and kind of went, okay, yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, I think it's quite hard at times, like we get these things, and like you say, like you might watch a video or 2, 3, but I think like not having that pressure to do it all at once, because I think that at times we're an all or nothing kind of bunch, where we're either not really working on stuff right now, we're like, doing other things, life, or we are, right, I need to get everything, I need my branding done, my target audience done, this done, all within the space of a week or a day. So I think that's a really good lesson to have, is that little and often wins.
I mean, Steph, literally, I am only a really small way through that course. So I've had that course for 2.5 years. I'm only a really small way, but that's okay, because I've got lifetime access for that course. And I know the one amazing thing about that course is that I know you update it really regularly. So it's not like if I don't do it there and then and I come back to it, it's going to be out of date. That's not a problem. And, I know the things that I need to be working on right now. So right now, I'm not quite at the stage where I'm ready to do an email list or make my own website, but I really need to focus on my social media, because I'm terrible at it. So I've joined SMS to help with that.
Yeah.
And I've even, although I haven't finished the course, I've been back and revisited sections that I've already done, because I think, I need another kick up the bum about that, or I need another reminder about that. I need another motivational speech about that. And because I've just joined Etsy Plus, I'm about to tackle Etsy ads, because you get a little bit of free credit, obviously, with that. And I know there's a section in the course about that, so I'll go back to that bit. So I'm not necessarily doing it in order, but I'm doing it at where I need it to be.
Yeah. It's not like a one and done course though, is it? And I guess that's what I guess that's why I try and stay away from the word course, because people go, okay, a course is you start, you end, you're done. But it's very much like a tool. And like you said, you've been in there for 2 and a bit years at this point.
2.5 years, yeah.
Yeah. And you're kind of like dipping in as and when you need to, knowing that, you know, it's going to be updated, lifetime access. Like you said, it's going to be a thing that when you're ready for various different trickles of things, it's going to be there. Yeah,
it's
and
not
I think
a course step. It's my business buddy. It's not a course.
Oh, I love that. It is your business. That's yeah. I love that, and I think having that attitude with it is really, really good as well. So 2.5 years. That's crazy. So tell me a little bit more about what impact has it had on your business, because I remember the shock critique. I remember you've been on like coaching calls and stuff, and I've kind of seen differences as and when, but I'd be really interested, like from your perspective rather than mine, like what impact has it had?
It's set a clear path for me.
Yeah.
So it's made that path easier and more direct. It's given me consistency. It's provided a constant toolkit that's always there. And it's provided me a safety blanket, really. You know, and I know this is kind of like going into sort of the impact that it's also had on my life personally, but the two are really intertwined for me. Because actually years ago, I had a bricks and mortar store, different business, complete different business. And I ended up selling that business in the end. But my mum worked on that business with me, and unfortunately she became ill and then later passed away. But I was left feeling very lonely with it, and it was a lot for me to take on by myself. And it's the security of having that community. So not only have I got the security of the course that I can dip back into, like I said, I've never looked at the Etsy ads bit before, but now I'm at that phase. So now I'm going to go back to that bit and have a look. And I know it'll be up to date. So that's happy days. But there's also the security of knowing that there is a community there. There are people I can talk to in the Facebook group. You know, I can reach out to the team if I need to. And it's the security blanket that I didn't have in that bricks and mortar store. And that was a very lonely, difficult place to be in business when there is only you and there's nobody else to say, what do you think of this? How does that look? And sometimes it's just having that conversation. Just that conversation can be really empowering, you know, to have somebody look at something on a coaching call or just put a note in the group. That's been a huge thing for me. And like I said, it hasn't been a course where, you know, there's a deadline and I've got to have my coursework in 6 weeks' time. It has been like a business buddy, a sort of a constant security blanket that even in the weeks that I haven't looked at it or I haven't been on a coaching call or anything else, I know it's there. I know it's there in the back of my mind. Sometimes I'll just have a little log in, just have a little look down the list, remind myself what's there and what I can tap into and dig into. So it's having that. And for me, that's really empowering, both on a business and on a personal level.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Because I think when you do start, especially if you're not in a community of like other business owners, like you might have an odd third cousin that might have their own business, but if you're not really spending time with them and everyone else around you is kind of in like the 9-to-5 grind and you're kind of like, well, I don't have no one to ask about these things. And like you said, I think we have a lot of ideas. And I think sometimes it's actually knowing, okay, what ideas are going to drive me crazy in like a month's time and what ideas are actually going to bring something to the table.
Yeah. And I think for me, you know, as I said before, I'm an ex-teacher. A lot of my friends are kind of, you know, all of my friends are sort of in that 9-to-5 thing. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's what's right for them. But there hasn't been anybody else for me to share that with. And also, you know, when it comes to kind of like maker mindset, I felt a little bit like, oh, maybe I should be out doing the 9-to-5, and why doesn't that suit me? And why do I need to be out getting fresh air for an hour every day? And everybody else is happy to be sat in an office. And you know, and I felt a little bit out on my own with that, I guess, sort of psychologically. Yeah. So it's nice to have a group of other people that also are like, I need to be making, and I need to, you know, my mind doesn't necessarily work like the 9-to-5 thing as well. So it is having that group of kind of like-minded people that again stops me feeling quite so on my own with it. And like you said, where I perhaps haven't got people who are in the same scenario to have those conversations with.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think like that has a big impact on your life as well, because, you know, whether we like it or not, our business, it's not, I mean, they say, don't they, like you chop in a 9 to 5 to have a 9 to 9, because you're thinking about it, you're thinking of ideas, and you never quite know when the inspiration is going to sort of strike. So I think like having that there, a group there that's open 24 hours a day, where if you are up at 3 a.m. and you're like, I just need to just get this down, and just so I know in the morning I can then ask and kind of get some feedback on this 3 a.m. idea that I'm not sure if it's, you know, going to go anywhere or not. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it is very lonely, especially when you start, and also that it's a very reflective process too, where you are going to find out more about yourself as you do it. Yeah. You're going to find out more about how you work, how you learn. You know, you might actually have been in a 9 to 5 your whole life, or a 9 to 4 or whatever, and discover that that's actually not your best work pattern, that actually you're a morning person or you're an evening person. And there's just so many things rolled into that. And sometimes it can feel really uncomfortable to break that mold, you know?
Yes, yeah. And my mold definitely looks very different to other people's. You know, there are definitely things that I need to do or don't need to do during the day. Like I said, I have to get out and get some fresh air, you know, a little bit of, I need my nature top up during the day. You know, I've been a busy mum. I've got 3 sons. And you know, a husband who works away a lot and is extremely busy with work, so I've needed to kind of make it work for me, and that is another reason for sort of coming out of the 9 till 5. It just wasn't fitting for me, really.
Yeah, got it. So what's been your biggest takeaway from the HBSA? What's been your biggest thing that so far from what you've done that you've gone, that there has been the thing, you know?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think it depends at what stage you are at, obviously, because at different times throughout your journey, you know, suddenly that's going to be your biggest takeaway. A big thing for me, and this comes right back to that first like review of my Etsy shop with you, is the niching section. And I'd really say to everybody, you know, get your niching down, you know, get into that niching section and have a deep dive into that. And that is really something now that I'm very, very set on, and really drives my business forward. And I really stick to it. So I'm very big on now what my core niche is. And again, to start with, that wasn't a thing. And I'm also, but that niche also extends to not just my product range. And I've learned to love my niche, and I've learned to kind of say, I love to make other stuff too, but that's going to be my hobby stuff. That's not going to be my business stuff. I'm going to separate those things out. So my business stuff is going to be my niche stuff, and everything else I like doing is going to be my hobby things. But my niche also extends to, as I said, not just what I make, but the materials that I use. And I will not deviate from that. So the materials I use in terms of quality, so I only use certain metals, I only use certain other raw materials, and I absolutely will not and do not ever deviate from it. And my customers know that, therefore, that is what they're getting, because that is the standard of how I present my work, what it's made from, what the theme is, because that is my niche. And I think that's really important for customers to know.
Agreed. That sounds for sure like your USP.
Yes.
Which intertwines with your niche. And I think, do you see a lot of makers making the mistake of kind of at some point shunning their USP and therefore a little bit of their niche as well? And that might be like the downfall.
Yes, yeah. And when I've said to other makers, when I've had a conversation with the makers, kind of, you know, I have said, look, you tell me exactly what is your niche, what materials are you using, what are you making, and stick to that. Don't deviate, because it's really confusing for customers. You know, don't say that everything that you make, for example, oh, I only use 100% cotton, you know, oh, and suddenly then you've got 3 items in polyester. You know, don't do that. It's really confusing for people. So, and lots of people make jewelry that I the sort of jewelry that I make, and they use very different materials, etc., etc. And that's absolutely fine. You know what they say, comparison is the thief of joy. That's great. Let them do that thing. That's their thing. That's their niche. That's their USP. It's not mine. My customers are coming to me for what I niche in and my USP. And I'm hard and fast sticking to that. Nobody's going to budge me off that.
I love that. I love that. You're planting your flag in the ground and going, this is my thing.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. That's the biggest, I think that is the biggest thing I've taken from it from day one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like I get a lot of DMs, emails, questions from people who are like, I've just started to sell insert thing here. It can be candles, it can be jewelry, it can be t-shirts, it can be art, whatever. And they go, but there's so many other people out there that do it and also do it for cheaper than what I could sell that to. And I sell that for. And I think that is a real testament, I guess, to like actually, yeah. And like you said, there are other people that are doing the same kind of thing as you, but because you've put your flag in the ground and you've got your niche, USP, you know deep down that your perfect client is going to want those things, and they're not going to go to Joe Bloggs up the road who has the same sort of, well, I guess sometimes we look at other products and think, oh, it's the same thing. It's not really. And they're not going to go to them. They're going to go to you.
Yeah. And when you dig your heels in over a kind of your strong niche, you'll develop your confidence in that. I think at first there is so much noise and you're always like, oh, but so and so is selling it for this, and does it look similar, etc., etc. And I think that confidence for that really, it just develops over time. So dig your heels in with your niche, and then you, as I said, that confidence with that will grow, and you'll be able to block out some of that noise.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. And also as well, like shout your USP from the rooftops. Like you want to be putting that on social media. You want to be putting that in every listing. You want to be really like shouting about that. I do a lot of these interviews, and at times they'll say, oh, did you know that my stuff is this and this and this? And I'm like, you know what? Honestly, when I scrolled through your shop and your socials and your website before this, sometimes I have to kind of say, actually, I didn't know, I didn't see, only because like they've told me on the day, and I've gone, you need to be shouting about that because that's amazing, but I didn't know.
I guess it's like finding that key message and then putting it throughout. So putting it on the stuff that you send out to customers, putting it on your Etsy site, putting it on your Insta, that kind of key message about what your niche is and why that's a thing.
Yeah, agreed. So how different is your business from 1 year ago or 2 years ago, as the case may be? But we'll just do one.
I think it's steadier. So I think the sales are more consistent. I think I'm in a place of more confidence about how to drive it forward, because I feel like I've got the kind of the toolkit with me, the business buddy to, help me. So there is a level of kind of confidence and steadiness and robustness there, I guess. My confidence in my niche has grown. And I'm also now starting to do some in-person events, which I'd never done before. And some of that actually just came down to sheer terror of sort of this maker mindset thing of, oh my goodness, I'm going to go to these things and I'm going to see people that I know. And that's really scary because I haven't told anybody else what I do. I've hidden behind the anonymity of Etsy, and that's terrifying. But actually starting to do these in-person events has been really empowering. And yes, I did see somebody that I knew. And they were like absolutely flabbergasted. They were like, Gemma, what are you doing here? But as it turns out, this person that I bumped into at this fair, they own a gallery. And they were like, why have you never told us about this? And I was like, because I'm just too scared to put my face out there and kind of be judged for not being a 9 till 5, And so now some of my stock is in their gallery and it's selling in their gallery. So just kind of having that confidence from a year ago to say, this is me and this is what I do. And I think I had a bit of an epiphany where I realized that, and I think I just had to kind of come to terms with it. I think it's taken until I've got into my 40s to kind of come to terms with this, that, you know, being a creative person and being a maker, it's not just something that I do, it's who I am. And it's just, I almost like had a light bulb moment at some point during this year, I think earlier this year, and I thought, yeah, that's okay. This is not a weakness. This is not a weakness to say I'm not somebody that can work in an office full time. This is a strength. I'm a creative person. I'm a maker. This is who I am. And doing that is opening these other opportunities to me, like now having stock in a gallery. So that's the big change from a year ago, I think.
That's a big one. It's a real big one, because not only are you owning that, but you're also owning that. I think being more visible online in your own life, in your community, like even just saying that it's a big deal. You know, when you're a business owner, you feel like there's a million eyeballs on you, and sometimes that can feel like an overbearing thing to have to do. But actually just going, it's fine, you know, like other people are going to look up to me, other people are going to judge me whether I like it or not, is an acceptance that a lot of people feel it is really hard.
I think I've just been afraid to look and sound a bit silly. And actually a good friend of mine said to me, why are you so bothered by this? Other people are looking at you and thinking, wow, I'd love to be doing what you're doing. You know, whereas to me, I was kind of outward looking, thinking, oh, I just don't fit the mold, and I feel not good enough, and I feel silly, and I feel like I don't live up to these kind of what I perceive to be careers that other people are having. It's just all about perception, and that is just a massive mindset thing, isn't it?
It is. It really is. So where do you see your business a year from now?
Okay, so from a year from now, I really need to have my socials more sorted out. Because I'm creative people. I love to make stuff. I'm not necessarily a big fan of then having to get it out there and, you know, taking the photographs and things I don't love. But I've joined SMS.
Love it.
And so I'm going to spend more time looking at that. So I'm hoping that in a year's time, you know, if we have a catch up, I'm going to say, Steph, look at my socials. They're so much better than they were a year ago.
Oh, for sure.
And so, you know, so I'm loving that, because I can go in and it's always the starting point for me. Where am I going to start with social posts? So it's a great starting point just to give me some ideas, some templates to get started. And that's really helpful for me to overcome that barrier. That is something I really want to work on over the next year. And it might seem quite a small goal, but actually I think when you're growing oak trees, you know, and things that you want to grow, you know, steady and long lasting, then doing the little things is okay. And then maybe once I've got that sorted, maybe in a year's time, I'll start to think about, can I have my own website? You know, maybe I'll come back to the course and look at all of the email stuff info, and I'll learn about that. But for me, it's just kind of getting one thing down and getting one thing right at a time. I've got the basics in place, and now I've got to use these other tools to help me grow. So that's what the next year is going to look like. I'm going to be the tortoise in the race. I'm going to be the tortoise, slow and steady. And while the hare's napping, I'll be at the finish line.
Yeah. While the hare is going, this, you're like, you know what? I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to do one thing right, and then I'm going to move on. Not before, after, just at the right time.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, so just to round up then, what is one crazy but true fact about you?
Okay, well, I've got quite a varied background in things, so I've done all sorts of crazy things over the years, but my background's actually in archaeology. So I did archaeology at university. I've been on lots of fantastic digs. I still run community archaeology now. So I still do that community archaeology part-time sometimes. And I think I will continue to do that, because it's obviously something that I love. I think that's probably where my love of the outdoors has come from. You can't be into archaeology unless you don't mind getting wet, freezing, muddy, you know, out in all weathers, etc. And I think, you know, I make lots and lots of tiny little things. So all of my jewelry is quite little. I use pins a lot as my kind of main tool. So I think when people... I then say I do archaeology, and I'm kind of down a big muddy hole with a spade or whatever. People can't kind of marry up the two.
Yeah. Love it. That's so funny.
It's quite a big difference. I think that sums up my personality a lot, you know.
I love that.
Kind of big difference. So yeah, I'm like I'm not even a closet archaeologist because I'm out there with my spade, you know, digging in people's gardens at weekends.
It kind of makes sense now what you sell with that, because I think you're kind of, I don't want to sound cliche, but you're kind of like unearthing a jewelry piece. If I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but it's like you're dusting off the dust to kind of reveal something different. I don't know whether this is making any sense.
There's definitely links in there, you know, although you know, on the outset you don't think that those two things have got anything in common whatsoever. There is definitely a psychologist would tell me there's some sort of you know, links in there
for sure.
Yeah, but there we go. That's the other part of my life is digging stuff up, really. I mean, I don't like gardening. I only like digging holes if there's going to be something to be found at the bottom.
Oh, that's so funny. And my last question is, what one piece of advice would you give to yourself a year ago?
So I'd say in a broader sense, you know, sort the mindset stuff out. As I've said, you know, me and my kind of imposter syndrome, or being worried that I'm not measuring up to people who it is their thing to sit in an office 9 till 5. So definitely kind of look at that. But if I had to pick out one single thing, it was something that my best friend pointed out to me a little while ago, actually. And she said, use that envy. So I think we think of envy and that green-eyed monster as a really negative emotion.
Yeah.
I think it could be a really powerful emotion. I'm not talking about, you know, the kind of levels of envy that are sort of, you know, toxic. I'm not going that far. But I think the kind of envy when we look at somebody else's business, or we look at somebody else's handmade business, and we think, oh, I wish my business looked like that. I wish my business was successful. I wish my Instagram looked like that. And she said to me, take that envy, because doesn't that tell you what you really want to do in life? Doesn't that tell you the direction you really want to go in? And I thought, do you know what? You're really right. So I went to this amazing like artisan show last year. I'd been the year before, probably been the year before that. And I was so envious of all the makers there, because the standard was so high. Yeah. And it was incredible. And I loved the atmosphere. And I was really envious of all those people, and so pleased for them that they're doing this amazing thing. But a little bit of envy on my part. Well, this year I did that show and I did really well at it. And I was so excited and happy that I was kind of accepted into that circle of makers, of people that I'd been envious of. And I'd kind of used that envy to tell me, well, if I'm really envious of that, that's telling me I need to be working towards that. And that's what I did this year. And then that again was so empowering for me. So yeah, you use that thing that we think is negative to help steer you forward about really, you know, not copying, but where it is you want to be moving forward to with your own business.
So it's like proof that it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, you know, if somebody else can do it, you know, you can do it too.
I love that. That's such a good piece of advice. And I think the majority of the time when I ask people, it's always like a mindset thing, which I think speaks volumes, really, because that is, I think, what we need. You know, we're standing in our own way, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's like the first hurdle to overcome.
Yeah. I have loved this chat. This has been so good and really lovely to hear about your journey. So could you plug away again, because people are gonna go, yeah, I'm gonna want to have a little look at Gem's shop and see what's up. So yeah, plug away.
Yeah, so if you have a look on Etsy, it's just Wild and Gem. Yeah. And again, really simple on Instagram, it's at Wild and Gem. So if you want to give me a little bit of support and a little bit of love on Instagram, I would love that. I'm trying to kind of build up my social media journey with the help of that SMS. So hopefully, and in a year's time, that's going to be looking much stronger too.
Amazing. Well, Gem, it's been lovely to chat with you. Thank you to you and everyone else who's watching / listening to this. We really hope that you've enjoyed it. I know you have, because it's been such a good chat. And we will see you all same time, same place next week for another episode of the How to Be a Handmade Boss show. Is it a show? I guess it is a show, isn't it? The Handmade Boss show. I don't even know what to call it these days. The podcast, YouTube, whatever. Thank you so much. And we will see you all real soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you love this episode, make sure you hit the follow button so you never miss the next one. And also, why not come and hang out with me on Instagram? It's at Handmade Bosses for daily tips, behind the scenes. And also, don't forget, you can catch the video version of this podcast over on YouTube too. Until next time, keep going towards your handmade business goals, boss, because the world really does need those special creations that only you can make.